Facilities Coordinator for the Redmond Reactor Space. Before we start, I've got a few things to go over. Please take a moment and read our Code of Conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Useful links will be shared in the chat. The session will be recorded and available on demand in 24 to 48 hours on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel, which brings us to today's session. It will run for approximately 1 hour with time for questions throughout. And now I will turn it over to our speakers for introduction.
I be welcoming ye to this episode of Sea of Nerds, and I will not be able to keep up that voice for much longer because that's quite that hurts the throat a bit. Welcome everyone to Sea of Nerds. If you joined us for the past 2 weeks, this is a live stream where I get to hang out with some really cool folks whilst we play video games. Yep, we are playing Sea of Thieves. This is an open world pirate game from Rare Studios, which is a Microsoft-owned game studio, make games for the Xbox. And I've got a whole load of former Microsoft interns with me today. And today we're going to be talking about internships at Microsoft, how to kind of ace the interview, how to get an internship, the experiences that our interns have had, and just a whole load of tips and tricks for folks looking to get into tech. And now this is a conversation. We absolutely want you to ask your questions in the chat. So please, if you have questions for our guests, jump in the chat, ask the questions, and we'll make sure we get your questions answered. And so kicking off to introduce my swarthy crew of pirates, I would like to introduce all three of them to you. So Antonella, do you want to say hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Antonella. I'm a computer science student. I'm a senior at Florida International University, and I just completed my second internship at Microsoft this past summer.
Awesome. Thank you. Hermes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hermes Bonilla. I'm also here at Florida International University. I'm a computer science student in my rising junior year with a minor in mathematical sciences. And I'm really happy to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you. And Yusuf?
Hello, everyone. My name is Yusuf. I am a 5th year senior computer engineering student at Florida International University, and I just completed my first internship at Microsoft this past summer.
Awesome. So we've got a great range, 2 years, 1 year. Great to have you all here. Antonella, you are muted, by the way. Feel free to unmute yourself and we can have a bit of fun and chat away as we play. So for those who haven't watched, Rich Princess is back. Hello, Rich Princess. So Rich Princess joined us for the last stream, and I had the pleasure of meeting them in person. We hosted a open source bootcamp this weekend, and Rich Princess actually joined us for that event. So that was awesome. Hey, glad to have you back with us, Sune. It was fantastic to meet in person. I really enjoyed the weekend with you, and I'm really glad to have you back here with us today. So for those who haven't seen the earlier streams, our plan, being swarthy pirates, is somewhere out there across the Sea of Thieves is a sea fort, and it's full of gold, and we want to rob it. So we are going to set sail in a second. We're going to find this sea fort. We're going to kill all the ghost pirates who are defending it, and we're going to steal all their gold. It's going to take us a while to sail there, so it gives us time to have a chat. We can talk while we fight, and then we can talk on the way back with all of our gold. So first of all, I need to find where the sea fort is, and I think that's it in the distance there. So I'm just going to head down to the map just to double check which way we're going, and then we will get going. So while I'm just checking the map, Antonella, you say you've done 2 internships. Were they both in person at Microsoft, or were you as part of their virtual cohort?
I was actually virtual my first time, and then I was lucky enough to get a second go around in person, which was completely different, as you can imagine.
Yeah, because one thing Microsoft do quite cool for internships is we will fly people literally to Redmond. So we'll literally move everyone to Redmond, and then you get a chance to kind of be on campus with 40,000 other people. Most of them working from home these days. But obviously it's kind of great to that's great to do that. Whereas, of course, in the pandemic times, that wasn't a thing. So what would you say are the biggest differences between virtual and internship, apart from obviously the obvious of you're not there? What would you say are some of the biggest differences?
Well, for me, the biggest one was the kind of connections that I was able to make and the type of conversations. A lot of the conversations with colleagues and other interns when I was remote were very orchestrated. You had to set up a call, schedule it on the calendar, show up to it, make sure you had 30 minutes for it. In person, it was more just like you were in the kitchen and you ran into someone else and you had a very organic conversation about something that had happened that day or an interest that you had in common, stuff like that. So I was able to connect at a deeper level with a lot more people. I'd say during the virtual internship, I had to be a lot more intentional. I made a lot of connections, but I had to really take time out of my day to really look for people on Who Plus, the directory for Microsoft, and really find like, okay, who do I want to connect with today and reach out to them. So it was a lot more, I guess, planned out.
Cool. And I'm just setting sail. So if you want to grab a sail and bring it down, that'll be cool. So I guess that is one of the big learnings about virtual is you have to be more intentional about all of your networking actions. As you say, you don't get that serendipitous conversation. And that's a learning for everybody, really. It's not just an internship thing. It's as we all consider the idea of the hybrid workplace, we all have to think about, how do I get to meet people? How do I get to know people? And if you're in a startup with 10 people, it's kind of easy. You're all in the same meetings all the time. But Microsoft, I was looking on our internal system the other day, and there's 340,000 people who report to Satya Nadella. You got no chance of meeting those people through virtual situations. So yeah, having that, you have to be intentional when it's virtual. Message the chat from Akshay, saying, "Hi guys, hey, welcome. Glad to have you here with us. Join it. Feel free to send your questions in the chat. We've got a whole lot of cool stuff, cool folks here. So please ask your questions. We're here to kind of help." So obviously, Hermes, Yusuf, this is your first internship. So I guess, is this your first Microsoft internship, or have you done internships elsewhere?
It's my first Microsoft internship. I interned in the summer of 2021 at another company, kind of like a similar role. But then I decided to look for other opportunities somewhere else. The Microsoft opportunity came in, and I never doubted on taking it. It was a really great experience.
And I guess in my standing, so I did have another internship prior to Microsoft, but it was a research internship. It was a research experience for undergraduates in a school called Worcester Polytechnic Institute, or WPI for short. And it was really cool. I was very lucky to have the research internship, and then with Microsoft having more of like the industry experience, which is what I wanted. So very cool to have both perspectives.
Okay, we just missed the thought completely. I can just see it there disappearing in the distance. So, so turn the boat around. Someone keep an eye out, make sure I'm pointing in the right direction. Yeah, I guess a research internship gives you one angle on things. I'm actually going to be doing something a bit more computer science related, I guess. Actually trying to discover things, and then you do the tech job as well. Because obviously what we do in tech is usually highly unrelated to computer science. Computer science usually focuses a lot on the science side of things, compiler design and that kind of stuff. Whereas a lot of the time in the real world of programming, we build systems. So do you feel that having both a research internship and a company one has given you kind of a good wide perspective on the different job roles available?
Definitely. Definitely, because it was something that I think a lot of people struggle with, including myself, which is, am I going to go the research route? Both, there's industry research and then there's academic research, as well as just a general industry role. And I think they both come with different challenges and different benefits. And so I think having both made me realize which one I enjoyed more. And I can say, while I like both of them, definitely the industry experience is more for me, and it's more what I like to do, because I prefer, rather than more of the theoretical and, let's try to figure out something new, but still, research paper or something more theoretical, that I was able to, at Microsoft be a lot more hands-on, and I feel like I learned more there.
It's kind of good to have both. As I say, it's good to have both. What do you think the future is going to hold for you? Do you think you're going to want to mix both? Do you think you're going to want to say, no, I definitely want to just stick to one? Do you think you're going to enjoy having flexibility to change?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm still doing research at school. So academic-wise, I'm still going to have a bit of an experience.
Oh, watch out. Can someone help me raise the sail? Sorry, quickly. We're drifting away. It's the fun of this game. You get chatting and then suddenly we get shot at.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're shooting back. Nice. We raise all the sails all the way up.
All right, Captain.
Thank you. I'll steer the boat around. Turning circle on this thing's terrible.
But yeah, I would say more. I'm definitely leaning more towards industry. Coming back to Microsoft and being able to experience a whole different part. I think is what I'm more leaning towards too.
Because one advantage of a large company like Microsoft is we have Microsoft Research. So if you decide, you know what, actually, I want to go back into the research side of things, we've got a division where you can literally do that. It's where a lot of our top programming languages come out of, and a whole lot of really cool things come out of Microsoft Research. So that's a very cool job. Actually, they get to play with all the coolest text, and then they just build something out of it. Mm-hmm. We have a question in the chat, which I think is an important one to get, from Rich Princess, saying, how many different positions did you apply for per company? So I guess it goes back to kind of the whole getting an internship. Can you just talk through the application process, all three of you? How was the application process for internship for you? And then not just for Microsoft, but just in general, did you apply for lots of different internships and hope for the best, or what was the process?
I can start with that if you guys want.
Yeah.
So what I always talk about whenever people ask me that is just the sheer amount of internships that I applied to. I applied to over 60 or 70 internships for sure. I made a whole spreadsheet on Google Sheets or one of those, Excel, and I started tracking every single company.
This is a safe space,
I don't remember which one it was, but either one. And I started tracking every single company that I had applied to, if I heard back. Whenever companies didn't have their applications open yet, I would put the link there and then remember to go back and check so I would apply. And it's honestly a numbers game. It's so easy to get discouraged when you get a no and you don't even get the interview. But you just have to remember that it's not something personal, and it doesn't mean anything about your capabilities. It's just you need to keep being persistent and improving and just moving forward. And you only need one yes. And that was kind of my mentality whenever I would get no's and stuff like that. It's just like, I'll keep doing this until I get that one yes, and things will get easier from there. And it did. Now, a lot of the companies that I applied to in 2020 are coming back to me being like, oh, we still have your resume on file. Would you want to come to us? And I'm like, well, I already found my place. Thank you.
Right, we are being attacked. So if you want to draw your sword or your flintlock, and let's attack some ghost pirates. I want to actually just dive into one of the points you said there, which I think is a fantastic point, which is you only need one yes. Mm-hmm. It is a numbers game, and it's no reflection on any one individual that whether you get the internship or not, because there's so many people apply. I mean, we take on, I think it's 4,000 interns in Redmond each year. That's a lot of people. And so you think how many 100,000 people apply to be in that 4,000? And so you kind of have to play that numbers game a little. You have to apply for lots of internships to get through. And so I guess across the three of you, what would you say is your one top tip for getting your name on top of the pile? Because if you're part of the hundreds of thousands of people who are applying, how do you get your CV to the top of the list? What's your top tips?
I can take that one. Definitely network. The more people you know, because as you mentioned, lots of people apply to these companies, especially. They get thousands and thousands of resumes every year, and getting to know the recruiter at your school or getting that connection might make the difference because that way they can put a face to the resume. You know what I mean? Um, so, in my opinion, I would say if I didn't network or if I didn't do enough networking, that could have been completely different. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten the internship at Microsoft at all, or maybe not even the internship at the previous company that I interned with before.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Those relationships are important. I would add to that also networking with other interns, with classmates, because a lot of them can offer you referrals that can really help also get seen and get maybe ahead of, I don't know how it works internally, but I know that there's that opportunity of getting referred. Oh, I'm getting killed.
No. That's enough.
It was important advice, so
It's okay.
it was
It's
worth
okay.
it.
yeah, and you're
That's
now
the
gone,
advice.
gone to the ghost ship in the sky. That's all right. In a minute, so the ghost ship you're about to peer on, in a minute, a door will open. Ah! I think I'm about to join you there, the way I'm going. Where's this person? Oh, where is he? Where is he? I'm almost about to join you there. Oh, I'm about to join you on the ferry. Yeah, because the whole network thing is so important. It's I hate to say it is who you know. A lot of the time it is who you know. So, Yusuf, your comment about the networking with recruiters. So what would be your another top tip from you then? What's the best way to actually reach out and network with recruiters? Because it's not like you can just give them a call and say, hey, let's chat. So how did you network with recruiters?
So in my case, oh wait, I'm getting
Oh,
wrecked.
yeah. I'm also joining you.
Yeah. Well, definitely be clear on your intentions when you want to network. Definitely show your passion for technology. That's also a really something. Oh my god, I'm gonna get killed. um, that's something that also will help you a lot by showing them that you're passionate about working in a big company, that you also want to contribute to the values of the company, and have an actual conversation, because in the end the recruiters are people too. They want to learn more. They also want to expand their networks. They want to see passionate people that in the end will contribute to the overall benefit of the organization. So definitely talk to them, tell them how much you're passionate about working in technology, how much you're passionate about learning and growing as a professional, and that definitely sets you up for success, in my opinion.
So just a quick note to those dead crew members. You see this
Yes.
door here?
Uh-huh.
If you run through there, you come back to life again. So if you run back through the door, it comes back to life. Because recruiters are humans. They want to know about you. They're engaged in your success as well, because they're going to be measured on how many successful interns they have and things like that. So yeah, it's important to be able to have those authentic conversations with them. And I guess it's also important not to sound, I don't know if desperate is the right word, but these recruiters are human, but they also have human limitations, and they have to work with thousands of people all the time. So if you network with them, they know who you are, they can advocate for you. But equally, if you're constantly bothering them,
Right.
they're less likely to advocate, because they're humans. They have a limited space of time and a lot of people to work through.
Of course, they have a lot. And I was going to add to the initial advice, right, which is, how should I get my resume out there, and about networking. Networking is great, not only for, what Anna said and what Yusuf said, but I find one benefit of networking is you find opportunities. And oftentimes that's really the main hardship. Like some people don't know about the Explore internship at Microsoft, which is really, really good. And it's the internship I did, actually. And so like talking to friends and being able to know like, hey, this is opening at this time is invaluable.
Yeah, so Explore
Absolutely.
internship is the one for first 2 years of college, isn't it?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that I always want to amplify because a lot of students get really intimidated and they think, oh, and I almost fell into that trap. I'll wait until I'm ready and I'll apply maybe like my second to last or last year, but then you're missing out on those first opportunities that'll
Right.
get you in also a little bit easier because they do have less expectations because they know what level you're at. So you want to be involved and I'm getting killed again. You want to be involved so that you can find these opportunities, like Hermes said.
And just to say, networking with other students that you can find out about these opportunities.
Exactly.
Because if you don't know
Right.
they exist, then how can you know to apply for them?
Mhm.
Right. Exactly. Also LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is really important. I feel like a lot of people overlook LinkedIn because it can feel unnatural at times, or even daunting. I have a lot of friends who say like, well, I deleted LinkedIn. I can't handle seeing all these people get internships that I wish I had. And I think everyone struggled, and everyone started at a point where they had no internships. So I found for me it helped. It's usually the advice that I give is look at it not from a, oh man, like I wish I was doing that, rather than, hey, this is potentially a new opportunity for me. Let me let me follow this person. Let me try to reach out. If oh, I died. Uh, let me try to reach out and just connect with this person and see it as a new opportunity. And for me, that motivates me a lot. And I'm genuinely happy to see people succeed, and especially people that followed for a while. I'm like, oh, they finally got that internship, and I've never met them in person. So I would say that's important.
It's one of the things we talk about Microsoft, so the idea of a growth mindset. Oh,
Mhm.
I just got yeeted off the side. We talk about this idea of a growth mindset, which is where you approach everything as a learning opportunity. It's easy, as you say, it's easy to look at people who've been successful and go, I wish I had that. But if you approach it with a growth mindset, it's what do I need to do? What can I learn from here? What are the steps I can take to achieve the same? How can I get there? And so LinkedIn is great for that because a lot of people do post career tips. They post, this is how I got this internship. And it's, oh, where is he? Where's he gone? There he is. There's the captain. Oh, and he killed me. And yeah, the whole kind of social media environment can be really, really powerful for that, whether it's LinkedIn as a professional or even the rise of this on other platforms. I mean, you see a lot of people on Instagram, for example, who do career things. They do career advice. They will kind of teach people, this is how you get internships. This is how you get jobs. It's kind of rising on a lot of platforms. Skeletons, which is pretty cool. There's kind of a lot of advice. Thank you. So more questions. Rich Princess has another question, which is, how could you prepare? Oh, sorry, not that one. How could you prepare different interns' job for interviews? So how do you prepare for the different interviews for internship jobs? What's your kind of interview preparation process?
Of course, it depends on what company, right? Companies have different standards, different ways of interviewing. So I think a big part is, especially if you're trying to get a certain company in particular, look at what their process is like. But generally, LeetCode is a giant one that you have to start at some point, and the earlier you begin, the better. So that's LeetCode is a website, just like HackerRank. They're both websites that you can practice coding questions with, and it makes you a better coder, and it helps you, prepare for those interview questions that will come up. So that's one of my pieces of advice. If Yusuf or Antonella want to add on.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. To add to that, the other thing that I did that I hear a lot is going to places like Glassdoor where there's a lot of sample questions of what you may expect to be asked. So also preparing that behavioral side, that's really important. People think that, oh, for like a software engineering interview, you only have to do LeetCode. But the thing is that interviewers really want to see how you communicate, how you work with them. So you really want to have that confidence when you speak about yourself too. So you want to practice that. Also, something that really helped me was preparing sample scenarios. So for instance, when they ask you, tell me about a time when you succeeded at something or you failed and how did you handle that? Before I went into any interviews, I created a doc with all those kinds of scenarios based on my experience and the different things that I've done throughout my school and my career and stuff like that. And so when I went into the interview, I was prepared to answer those things and not just trying to come up on the spot with that.
Some
Yeah.
side notes. I want to grab this fortress treasure key from front of me and head downstairs. Let's go. And we defeated the captain. So if I want to grab this key that's in front of me here.
Here, Yusuf, you want to do the honors?
Grab that. And then follow me downstairs. Let's go and
I also
unlock
want to
start studying
add
things.
that know your resume like the palm of your hand.
Right.
That is definitely a must, at least in my case. So before thinking on applying to internships, definitely get yourself some experience by working on personal projects or getting research opportunities at your school. I really think that is really valuable, and companies also like to see that people getting engaged on their communities. But you must also you should be able to also speak about that during the interview. So definitely know the projects, know the technology behind the projects that you're working on, and because that will make you look good, make you look as if you understand what you're doing. So definitely, I think that also is a really good thing to do.
Yeah, because I've often heard it said that you should never put anything on your resume that you can't talk of. So you should know, as you say, you should know like the back of your hand because you're going to get asked questions on it. Same with listening technologies. If you put a technology on your resume, if you don't actually know that technology well enough to answer questions on it, you shouldn't be on there because you will be asked on that. So it's essentially that to sum up what you're both saying with one word is preparation. It's being prepared. It's knowing your talking points, knowing what people are likely to ask you, knowing you've got the answers in the bag. And when Antonella, you say you just create a document, you just list down all these things because there's only so many questions that interviewers ask. Ignoring all the slightly tacky ones about where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, which I think is a terrible question because if none of us saw what we're doing now 5 years ago. If I said to you in 5 years' time, would you be playing video games with the guy in a pirate hat for Microsoft? You'd be like, no. But with a lot of these questions, there's only so many questions they can ask. So it's you can usually just Google for these. So Google with Bing to find the questions that people like to ask. And as you say, be that prepared.
Right. And Jim, not to interrupt, sorry, but I think one piece of advice that I never really heard being talked about, but I found it really beneficial. And it's also, it makes you feel good because it's practice with other people, right? Like do mock interviews, but be the interviewer is just as beneficial as, being the interviewee. Because when I interview my friends, so on, and ask them the questions, both technical and behavioral, you start understanding like, oh, okay, I wish that they elaborated more on this point, or I really like that they mentioned this part, and so then it makes you a better interviewer.
That actually reminds me of something that I think might be really useful for people to hear. When I was preparing, I actually used websites where you can get interviewed by strangers. And so there's other students that are also preparing, and it'll set up a call with a random person and you can interview each other. So it'll give you a problem and show you the solution and you can interview them and then you switch the roles. And it can be nerve-wracking doing that kind of interview with a stranger. But for me, I found it actually relieving because I was thinking about it like, oh, I don't have a friend, that's gonna judge me when they realize that I'm not prepared. Like, it's just a stranger that I'll never see again. So that helped me a lot to just kind of get over that fear of I'll be interviewed by someone else that I don't know.
That's actually a really good tip, because if you say it's always the worry of, oh, I'm going to be interviewed by a stranger, but let's be honest, when you go for a job interview, you're going to be interviewed by a stranger. Yeah,
Exactly.
so if you can kind of just do enough interviews that you just get to the point where it's like, yeah, whatever, I can just talk to a stranger, it's fine. That's really good preparation.
Exactly, and the stakes are very low because it's not an actual interview, so
it's just great practice.
You don't lose anything.
So FuleSnabel, hello FuleSnabel, great to have you back here. So FuleSnabel has joined a number of my streams, so glad to have you back here. Awesome to have you here. FuleSnabel has some opinions on interviews, which I think is going to be a good one to share. So let me just share these ones in order. So FuleSnabel says these interview questions are kind of silly, and there's always a current hype. I find the LeetCode grind these days to be extra silly, which is true. We're going to give you a problem you're never going to have to solve in the real world. Yeah. How would you do this sorting algorithm? I would call .sort. That's what it's there for.
Exactly.
But yeah, I agree. Extra silly. I prefer the where are you in 5 years question. Interesting. But also, I can easily go on into a 30-minute rant about all I think is wrong with requiring LeetCode or doing programming riddles. So I'll stop now. No, don't stop, FuleSnabel. We'd love to have your opinions on this show. But yeah, the leak. I think the whole kind of LeetCode thing is, can you solve this tech problem? I find them unnecessary. What do you all think? Do you all agree that they are necessary or useful, or do you think they are unnecessary?
I personally haven't had to apply the same exact format of solving a problem like that in any of my jobs I've gotten after interviewing like that. I can see why there could be sort of a standardization aspect of it that can be helpful. So people just like have that model and they can understand how you think based on that. But I also see how it could be improved greatly, also specific to different positions, because not everyone is doing that kind of stuff at work either.
I think one of my things that I don't like about it is you can just practice them. And so the LeetCode questions, they favor people who've got the time to spend working through LeetCode.
Exactly. Yeah, because there are also so many questions that you can get. So if you've memorized a certain pattern, you're just repeating that. So I can see that too.
Yeah, because I've often seen people on various social media saying, oh, study for 3 months doing LeetCode problems, which is great if you're a student, for example, and you've decided to take the summer off, so you've got multiple months to do it. But if you're a career switcher and you've got a full-time job and you have a family, you don't have 3 months just to memorize LeetCode just so you can go into an interview where you can show that you've memorized LeetCode.
Yeah, or even students that also work part-time or full-time. It's a huge commitment to time and money sometimes, because they would have to take time off work.
Yeah, I mean, university is not cheap. So for those who are privileged enough to have wealthy families, they can afford to take the summer off. A lot of folks, the reality is you have to work. So your job and study, you don't have time just to burn up on LeetCode, just to be testing something that you're not going to use in a day job. So I'm just going to zip through the chat. Got a few more comments in here. Thindal made a comment about the key we picked up earlier, saying, will the key unlock a GitHub Copilot license? Unfortunately, I love GitHub Copilot. It's so cool. And big upside of working for Microsoft is we get it, because we own GitHub.
See, I didn't know we could until the last day I saw it.
Oh no!
I told my mentor, wait, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
Use it.
Yeah. I also use it a lot for my internship. You only need to hit tab because it's so good. Like you don't even have to code anymore.
You should have told me, Yusuf.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Yeah. It is crazy good that.
Don't worry, Hermes. I missed out too.
Okay.
So Thindal also goes on to say, I could go back to the point about knowing your CV like the back of your hand. Yeah, even if you're not asked about everything, if you're asked about something and don't know about it, it'll throw shade over your entire CV, which is so true. It just takes you to show you don't know one thing, and that puts your entire CV into question, doesn't it?
Right. Exactly, and I think you know, as an interviewer, then you're like, well, like you said, you know, is this person truthful about the rest of their interview and rest of their resume, right? Like you can't ask about everything, so you just assume, okay, this person's telling the truth. But if one point is false, then you just assume that the rest could be as well.
I missed some comments from earlier on. Sorry, Gnarly Duck says hi. Hey, Gnarly Duck, glad to have you on here. I love that avatar. I think that's very cool. So Rich Princess asked a question earlier, which I missed, which I think is a great question, which is, do you apply still when you don't have confidence for the desired intern role? So should you still apply?
Yes, please. Yes. I keep hearing this statistic that says that a lot of, especially women or minorities, tend to not apply to positions because they haven't met all the criteria and they think that they're not qualified. That criteria is generally the ideal, but you always want to apply to, because you may not have certain things that are on there, but you may have other strengths. From, if you're switching careers, they're not going to put certain things that are specific to the career you had before, but it's still going to be a strength of yours. So you always want to, you don't want to count yourself out and reject yourself without giving them the chance to say yes or no. So I'd say absolutely. And the worst that can happen is they say no, and you already have experience going through that rejection and going through applying and the process. So I always encourage people to, because I didn't feel prepared at all when I applied, and somehow it worked out. So I wouldn't want other people to miss out on what I could have missed out.
I think that is actually what, just think about one of the points you made there is the statistic that shows that women in tech, follow me up here, there's a story up here, by the way, that women in general look at the list of things and go, I don't meet those, I'm not going to apply. Whereas men in general look at a list of things and go, yeah, I can fake it, I'll apply. You know, men will apply when they hit like 50% of the criteria. Women won't apply till they hit like 120% of the criteria. Yeah. And that definitely needs to change. One thing I am seeing actually that's quite good, I've seen this in Microsoft career adverts, is they will say, within 6 months, you must be able to do X, Y, and Z. And I find that's actually a really good way to look at any job, is not, can I do this now, but do I have the interest and aptitude to be able to do this in 6 months? You know, kind of assume that everyone's going to take 6 months to onboard in a job. So do I think I'll be able to do this in 6 months? And then if that matches you, if you think, yes, I can do this in 6 months, then apply.
Right.
You know, because it's going to take you that long to onboard. You're not going to know, if you say you worked for Amazon as an internship and then you move to Microsoft, you're not going to know how Teams works. So you've got to learn how to do that. You can use Slack rather than Teams. You know, if you work for Google as an internship, then you come to Microsoft, you're going to use Google Docs, we're going to want you to use Office. So there's always things you're going to have to learn. You know, so as long as you've got the aptitude for it and the interest.
Yeah, and there's a lot of also internal tools beyond that, or code bases that, of course, naturally you wouldn't know because it's all proprietary and it's all under NDAs, so you won't have access to it until you've been onboarded and get that chance to use it and learn it. So there's always that learning curve that you should expect, and you shouldn't let it get you discouraged. I guess I'm speaking more to myself there because I have sure fallen for that, but I share my experience so others won't suffer as much.
I also want to add to that, because during my internship, I did find myself, most of the things that I was doing were under NDAs and proprietary information from Microsoft and OEM suppliers that the company has. So when you prepare to get an internship at these companies, don't feel discouraged of not knowing certain technology or other types of things, as long as you understand the fundamentals. Because in the end, all these technologies, even if they are under NDAs or not, they are based on fundamentals, right? Like fundamental sciences of computer science, mathematics, physics, and so on. So if you get to if you really understand those, then you'll be successful at the company regardless of what technologies you're working with.
Cool. I think we've robbed everything that we can off this fort. So should we sail back via another island and try and maybe fight some more skeletons? See if we can all get killed again.
Let's do it.
So if you want to just hop back on board ship.
Wow, there's full of treasures here.
It's a lot of treasure we got.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to head downstairs and find a nearby island. So we've got, so that, I don't know if you can see on the map here on my screen, that thing coming our way, that is a ship of people who might want to attack us. So I'm thinking, let's head down via Barnacle Cay, down to Ancient Spire Outpost. So if we head southwest, stop off there, see if there's anything we can steal there, and then go to the outpost and sell everything. So if someone wants to help me raise the anchor? Okay, so Thindal and FuleSnabel are now talking about the asking questions type comments. So Thindal makes the comments. Talking about FuleSnabel, I think I've mentioned it when talking to you. Oh, Thindal and FuleSnabel know each other. Yay. I've been in this field for a pretty long time now. Don't question if I know how to code something. Just see if I'll fit the team socially and what my more logical strengths are. Which I think is a good point. If you can show that you can code, if you've been in the industry for a while, if you've got a big GitHub portfolio, thanks, Yusuf. Point us into what direction did I say?
Was it south?
Barnacle Cay.
Barnacle Cay, which is southwest. Yes, if you've got like the GitHub portfolio, if you've got blog posts or other documentary evidence that you can code, why ask whether somebody can print out a binomial series?
Right.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, here's a complete project I built that does something. We're spinning back past. I think Barnacle Cay is that little island ahead there. Yeah, you don't. What? Yeah, it's kind of pointless to ask people those questions, but unfortunately, people do. We are, in general, we're pretty terrible at interviewing in the tech space. Yeah. So FuleSnabel says, not saying the 5 years question is especially good, but prefer it to LeetCode. The problem is what's called information asymmetry. So companies look for signals that can't be easily faked. University degrees, GitHub history, LeetCode, leaning forward, you're talking about signals. There's a lot to unpack here. But then you have to realize when recruiting, there's not a single signal that captures all about a person. You have to be smart on how to evaluate them. One guy I talked to took all applicants to lunch. If you eat quickly, you are hired. One way to do it, I guess. Another problem with LeetCode is it also sets the wrong expectation. Let's say you love LeetCode and passed a really tough interview and look forward to interesting problems. Now here's your ARM template, solved by Google. This is what you're doing for the first 2 years. Which is true. It's kind of, the LeetCode doesn't prepare you for the real world. There's a lot of good points there. A lot of good points here for FuleSnabel. So yeah, but I think I want to drill into that one actually. That you do things like LeetCode, that gets you solving problems. But really, most of the problems we reach. Right, can we just bring up some of the sails? Actually, we're getting a bit close to the island. Most of the problems we face are not easy solved through completing LeetCode problems. Either they're solved by being able to Google it. So,
right.
How does your experience as interns align with that? Do you find that you end up Googling most of the things?
Yeah, go ahead, Irving.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, of course. I mean, like any programmer, right? Yeah, maybe I'm making a broad assumption, but I think most programmers, we use Stack Overflow. We don't know all coding, every single thing in a language or different packages and so on. So it's only normal, and it's part of being a good coder. And I think it's something that I wish that was more reflected in interviews, is the ability of knowing how to find solutions, right? Because knowing a certain LeetCode problem is, can have its benefits, but I think it's, I'm being attacked. Interesting. interesting. I think it has its benefits, but being able to search a solution, have a problem, and however you can find it, if you can find a library that helps you go to it and actually solve the problem, I think is a more realistic expectation. And yeah, I use it throughout my entire internship.
Yeah. Also, internal documentation also helps a lot.
Exactly. That's also what I was thinking. Sometimes there are things that are not on Google because of what we mentioned earlier.
Sure.
But if you can find other people that have already worked on it, I relied a lot on other people in my team during my internship because I was building something that was similar to something that had already been built. So relying on their documentation, their PR request, and really understanding how they had done it, that helped also a lot.
Well, this is a guy I used to know in New Zealand, because I lived out in New Zealand for a while, and his company, they had kind of an interesting approach on the interview process, and that what they would do is they'll get you to take a day off work, off your current job, come in and actually work for them for one day. You get paid for it, so you'll be paid for a full day, because they can't expect that time off you for free. But then they would basically get you on the team to solve a problem. It's a problem they've already solved, so you're not producing anything kind of new. It's a problem you've already solved, so that they've already solved. But it'd be like, okay, here's the code base, and we need you to fix this. And it was your job to show how you would work with the team through pair programming and talking to the rest of the team, how you would navigate the code base, find the thing you need to do, and actually work towards fixing it. And it didn't matter whether you're able to fix it or not. It was all, can you work with our team to get to a fix? And can you show the appropriate level of knowledge and understanding to kind of get that far? And I thought that was a brilliant way to do an interview.
Yeah, I had never heard that before.
I agree.
So interesting.
Especially
it's much more realistic. Yeah.
It's totally realistic. I mean, and getting paid for it. In Microsoft, if you get a full-time job here, you are looking at at least a 4-hour interview loop for your main interview. So if you get through the various screenings, we normally expect 4 hours. It's half a day. And so if you're interviewing at, say, 20 different places, half a day a place, that's 10 days off work. And especially in countries like America, which doesn't have good vacation policies, you can literally use your entire year's vacation just interviewing.
Right.
Yeah, the least you do is get paid for it. Which leads to a great question from Greedy AI, which is, how do you prepare for interviews? So I know, Antonella, you mentioned earlier that you like to make a list of things to practice. And I know we talked about this earlier. So Green AI, if you didn't catch earlier, there's this is recorded to be available on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. So I think we probably pretty much covered that earlier, didn't we? Thindal says, my usual answer is that I need more hobbies outside of sitting in front of a screen. That can be taken as a humble brag. Just talk and see what social fit is instead. I think that's a good point on interviews. Social fit is quite important. And Thindal says, Greedy, I don't really prepare. YOLO. I mean, as much as I respect the experience that you speak of, Thindal, maybe not the best advice, especially interns and new folks. Preparation does help.
Yeah, it'd be a nervous wreck.
Yeah. Part of it is say for your sanity. Let's head back to the boat and let's try and head back, and we can start selling our stuff. We've got about 12 minutes left. So if you've got everything for the island, let's head back to the boat and let's go sell things.
Yeah.
FuleSnabel says Thindal and me can't stand each other, but we like the same streams. Joking, of course. Okay, so some tips from Thindal about interviews is read up on the company so you know who they are. So basically figure out their CV, which I think is a good one. It's if you think about what we were saying earlier about you need to have a good CV and people need to look at that, review that, and work out whether you're a right fit just off your CV. You need to do the same for the company. You have to ask yourself, what are my values? What are the corporate values? Do they align? I've certainly seen some companies where when you kind of check out the CEO online, they are definitely not a person whose values agree with my particular values. Whereas you look at some of the other tech companies and they talk about their values but don't act upon them. And other tech companies talk about the values and act upon them. So I think that's very important. It's although you want to hit the numbers, you want to make sure you apply to, was it 60 different places? You want to make sure that all those places are ones where you're happy to work there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where are we going next? I forgot where we're going.
And also during interviews, they'll give you an opportunity to ask questions, to ask them questions. And you want to really take advantage of that and ask about all the things that you're interested in and really prepare those questions as well, because that is also showing the interviewer where you're coming from, how you're thinking about this company. If you're
so we're heading towards rocks. Can we steer the other way very quickly because we're heading towards a whole lot of rocks? Sorry.
Sorry. If you raise the sail.
Yeah, let's raise the sails. Let's slow down quite a lot. Sorry to cut you off there. We're heading towards a whole lot of rocks.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
Do we raise the sails?
Yeah, let's raise the sails because we're about to hit a load of rocks. Let's raise.
Okay. Raising sails.
We just avoided them. Right.
Oh my goodness.
And then we need to turn. Okay, that's the outpost. If you look on my screen, or the stream, you're going to see the outpost. That's where we need to head to. So we just steer that way.
I'm on it, Captain.
I be thanking ye. So you're talking about actually in the interview, you got this chance to actually ask people questions, ask the interviewer questions to make sure they align with your values.
Very important. But also, yeah, go ahead, please.
I'd say, but also, it's not about how they answer. Or can we go straight now, please? We're in the right direction. We'll go straight. It's not about how they answer; it's whether they answer. You ask people like the difficult questions, like diversity inclusion numbers. How much of your workforce identifies as female or non-binary? And sometimes they're like, oh, I don't know the answers to that. Well, maybe you should find out because I don't want to go and work for a company that's packed full of tech bros. It's not kind of a good environment. So it's not just what they answer. It is also good insight if they don't answer those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to say during the interview, it's not only is it a good chance to know, are you a great fit for the company? Is it a great fit for you? But it's also a great way to stand out again, like we mentioned earlier, because, I'm not an interviewer, so, take away the grain of salt. I'm not a recruiter, but, oftentimes I would think you want somebody that really cares about your company, right? Like that actually wants to join, that if I give an offer to, they're going to seriously consider joining. And I think showing that, you've done your research in the company and that you like the company for more than just, a salary or a position is pretty important. So definitely ask questions. What I would say.
Yeah, because those questions do add to the interviewer's view of you. If you have no questions about the company, then the interviewer's going to wonder whether you care or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're not expecting you to give your life for the company and company hymn, company funeral, all that kind of stuff, as it's been referred to in the past in some cultures. Can we just point straight ahead at that thing? I'll slow us down. But you want to at least show that you're interested. You want to at least show that you've evaluated this company and it's one that you want for the right reasons, not because I want a job. Working for a long career in tech where you're looking at a full-length career is very different to I just need cash, therefore I'm going to be doing a different job. I think that's kind of important. Sorry, lots of stuff happening in the chat. I think Thindal and FuleSnabel have got a lot of cool opinions on interviewing. Thindal says before Copilot we had SODD, Stack Overflow Driven Development, which is cool. If I just grab things off the deck, anything like with these rectangle things, like a crate of something goes to the merchants, which is just on the deck there. The chests go to the gold hoarders, and the skulls go to the Order of Souls, which is like a creepy tent with lights outside.
Wait, Jim, what about this ashen key?
The ashen key, we don't have. You use that to open up an ashen chest. We don't have an ashen chest, so That one we can't do anything with.
Unfortunate.
A little bit too far away from the side, so I missed that jump. We have to climb ladders. So just trying to kind of pick up some of the salient points from Thindal and FuleSnabel's conversation. FuleSnabel's saying if I was really interested in the company, I'd research their product, their competitors, try to get at their strengths, try to think what are their biggest issues and how I can help there. Now, that's an interesting point, isn't it? It's not just about the company. It's about understanding the space the company's in. Gold Hoarder's tent is over here, by the way, if you've got chess.
Oh.
There it is there. Over by me, yeah. Do you ever research the competitors when you were looking for internships? Did you research Microsoft's competitors and try and work out what Microsoft has to offer that competitors don't, or the other way around? And no is a perfectly acceptable answer.
Yeah, no, I personally did not. I really find that so interesting. It's a really good piece of advice.
Yeah, I didn't as well. I didn't really look at competitors. It's kind of hard, because when you do an internship at Microsoft, at least in my experience, you don't get to choose what product you're working on. So I don't think we mentioned what we were working on, but I was working on Visual Studio. So if you're, I think if you code, you might be aware of it, but if you're not, Visual Studio is like an IDE. It's a very popular IDE. And so it's kind of hard because Microsoft has so many products, to be to find which competitors they have be kind of difficult. But I think it's pretty interesting to like put yourself in that position and see what you can offer in that sense.
Yeah, no, in my case, I did that. I researched the competitors. However, the way that, at least I think the Microsoft recruiting process works, I knew the team that was interviewing me, so I knew what, depending on the product that I was thinking I would be working on, assuming that I would, if I got the opportunity, I would be hired for that team or a similar team. I kind of like understood, okay, I'm in this position. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be interviewing with this team. Let's see what other big tech companies are doing in their space around and see what can I bring to the table to improve the company, to be competitive, to keep being competitive, or to overcome some adversities in order to be more competitive in the market. At least that's how I remember I discussed this during my interview, especially in the final round, when you kind of like know, okay, if this person is interviewing you, it's because, and they're in this role in this organization, it's because they might want to put you in here. They might want to give you a role in this team or an adjacent team. So I really like that advice, and I've put it to work, and it does help, because also the person that's interviewing you gets to understand, okay, so this person is aware of what we need to improve, at least, from an outside perspective from the company. And they mention, and they're proving themselves that they can provide all these good things for the company that can make us either still be competitive or make us be competitive in a new space for the company.
Cool. Right, I'm going to have to wrap up here because we've only got like 1 minute left. A couple of things in the chat I will just address very quickly. FuleSnabel says, I hope Microsoft interns are being paid. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Sebastian says, hello, what's going on here? So, Sebastian, this is an interview series where I chat to various folks across Microsoft, exchange things like career tips, learning tips, with a group of folks across Microsoft. We've been running for the past few weeks, got one more next week, and the videos of today and the last 2 weeks are available on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. And if you join us at the same time next week, that'll be for the last episode. So with that, I do need to wrap up. Closing sentences from all of you. What's your number one, in one sentence, best piece of advice for our audience? Antonella?
No pressure. I say just don't give up and don't count yourself out. Put yourself out there and apply and all those things, even if you feel like you're not ready.
Awesome. Thank you. Hermes?
Very good advice. So I usually take the advice of my mom, which is, you always start off with a no. So the worst you can do is just stay with the no, but you can always get a yes. So like Antonella said, don't undermine yourself. There's plenty of people out there too already are trying to do that. Be your #1 supporter and go for it.
Awesome. And then Yusuf?
Yeah, I would say go for it because we are all more capable than we think we are. So definitely just put in the time to practice, grow yourself as a professional, as a computer scientist, as an engineer, whatever role you want to, or whatever career you want to achieve in life, and put in the time, practice, and definitely interview because sometimes we just don't interview or we just don't apply to companies because we don't think we are enough for the company, but that's all lies. Like that's all here. So if you can put on the time and practice, you'll definitely be successful and get that role.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to my guests for joining me. And thank you to the audience for joining. I hope this was a great show. Lots of great conversation in the chat. I'm sorry I didn't get to everything. There is just, I'm just kind of scrolling through this and there is just so much. FuleSnabel and Thindal have a lot of great comments on this. So you know what, you two, why don't you reach out to me? I'm on Twitter at Jimbo Bennett, or you just find me on LinkedIn. Both of you, how about you reach out to me and maybe we get both of you on a stream and have a conversation. I think it'd be really interesting to kind of get your professional highlights. With that, thank you very much, everyone. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
It was
much.
Thank
fun.
you for having us. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining, and thank you to our speakers. If you have any feedback, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find the link on the screen or in the chat. Our event code is 16697. If you enjoyed today's session, please join us again next Thursday for another Sea of Nerds session with educators. The link can be found in the screen or in the chat. Thank you.